Hey, how are you? Thanks for joining me. I think there's some people joining me. Thanks for sitting in this Friday. It's Kevin, and I'm here for my live from lockdown series Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you happen to be in the world. I want to start again by acknowledging that this particular broadcast comes to you from a place on the traditional territory of the Wendat and Anishinaabeg Nations, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit, and more laterally the Métis Nation as well. We call it Toronto or Tekaronto, or it's got a bunch of places, meeting place. It's the place where I live, and I'm honored to be on this land and the beneficiary of the inordinately generous welcome that the First Nations have given people like me for a whole bunch of generations. So it's an honor to be here. Here's an hour of music in the spirit of justice and reconciliation with that world. That, off the top, was a tune called Someday My Prince Will Come. You probably recognize, a tune I've been playing for a while, not dedicated to anyone royal. It is a special dedication today for me, to a prince of a man, however, a very good friend of mine by the name of Fred Thompson, who might be watching. I don't know if he managed to hook up a Facebook feed today. Freddie's a very good friend. I'll say more about where I met him a little later. He's got some health concerns this week and is getting some things looked after next week, and I want to send the very best to him. Know that he's got a bunch of love and support from around the world with him as he gets through that. So right on, Fred. Thanks. I got a whole bunch of dedications and shout-outs today. And an errant G string I noticed in that last tune. So I should probably keep rolling with that. It's a couple of people's birthday. I don't know if my screen's in the right place. How are we doing? I don't know. It's hard to tell. A couple of birthdays. A big happy birthday to Ryder McNair, who is probably not listening because he's a working man. Ryder is a fantastic musician and composer who lives in the Los Angeles area, works in the film composing business, and it being not long after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I suspect he's deep in the studio, hard at work. But happy birthday to Ryder. Ryder's parents, Lisa and Keith McNair, are very dear friends of mine, and hello to either and both of Lisa and Keith if you happen to be listening, and congratulations on your fabulous young man. Another birthday today is a very good friend of mine, a fabulous singer and composer who lives in Ottawa, Ontario, who I have the privilege of playing with now and then, a woman by the name of Jerry Trimble. In fact, Jerry and I have had a couple of gigs planned lately that have been canceled for one reason or other. At least one was my fault. We might have been playing this month in Ottawa had times been different, but they aren't. And I wanted to do a little shout out. Jerry's a great singer, has a really interesting book of tunes, but she is also one of the more interesting composers around these days, in my opinion. She's written a bunch of cool tunes, and I'm going to play a tune of hers. I have to read it because I couldn't commit it to memory after I figured out what to play. But this is a tune of Jerry's, kind of a cheery and spring-like offering in the key of C major, if you're joining me. Henry Heilig might be joining me on the bass today. I kind of hope so. We're in key of C. Henry, if you're with me, watch out for the bridge. It kind of goes to E, but it's Jerry writes interesting tunes. This is called Could We Be? Could We Be by Jerry Trimble. Happy birthday, Jerry. I'm sorry you're not having a party, but I hope you have cake and a bottle of wine and whatever else you need for your Friday night lockdown birthday. There you go. Oh yeah, no, you know what? I was going to play that on a different guitar and I didn't. I'll keep this guitar on. I'm going to move my chart. Again, apologies for having to read the music. I try to keep things in my mind when I'm playing this show, but there's a lot of music. It's actually going to be a theme today for me. I'm kind of running out of tunes. I do this now and then, play solo guitar, but I'm not used to playing every week for an hour. And I'm pretty sure, with the exception of a little Baroque piece, I don't think I've repeated anything. This is now the fourth time I've done this. 4 weeks ago tonight, I arrived back from the UK to my home in Kensington Market in Toronto and went straight into lockdown. So happy anniversary to all of you who are noting that. And I've been playing a bunch of tunes, and pretty soon, I'm going to warn you, I'm going to have to start repeating some. So please keep the requests coming in. I've had a bunch of nice requests, which I appreciate, and I'll speak to some of those through the hour. But I'm going to have to repeat some too. If there's something you heard before you'd like me to hear, I'd like to hear me try again, let's do that. What shall I play next? So one of the things I was complaining about last week, which I will continue to complain about in these difficult and terrible times, are the people we're losing from the musical world. Yesterday, I believe, we lost Lee Konitz, a very important, fabulous, creative, unique, difficult individual saxophone player in the jazz world. Not a young man, but I understand that COVID had a role in the end of his life. So I'm not going to play a tune that he wrote, but I'm going to play a tune that's associated with him amongst many other people. I'm going to play a tune that I've been actually talking with a number of people about recently because it's kind of fitting in these times. It's called Alone Together. So here's Alone Together in the book key of D minor. Henry, if you're playing. Anyone else? I'm also going to send this out to a very good friend, Graham Stephen, in Edinburgh. I talk about him a bunch. He's one of my favorite guitar players anywhere. He did a great live stream last week that I talked about. I'm sure is still on his page. Tomorrow, you lucky people, Graham and a great Edinburgh Pathet, actually, excuse me, Tom, drummer named Tom Bancroft. Tom Bancroft and Graham are doing a live stream under the Free Time sponsorship. It does a great live series in Edinburgh through the year. They're doing a show tomorrow. I believe they're hitting at 7:30 UK time. But if you look up Playtime or Tom Bancroft or Graham Stephen in this medium, you will find them, and I encourage you to join them. So Graham loves to play Alone Together. Every time I have a gig with Graham, we play Alone Together. And I'm going to send this out to Graham Stephen and to Lee Konitz. Alone Together. Nearly got myself in trouble at the end there, didn't I? Alone Together. Alone Together. Ain't that a song for the times? I was thinking, about the curious language that's evolved in this pandemic madness that we're living through. And I didn't really figure out until today why the term social distancing just wasn't working for me. It strikes me that social distancing is not what we need. Physical distancing is what we need. Social proximity is what we need. However we can muster it through these media, on the telephone, through the screen to your friends. Let's try to get proximate socially, shall we? Stick together, look after each other, and see if we can keep that going. Alone Together. There you go. I was saying that a bunch of new repertoire is going to be a theme, and I'm also going to complain to you a couple of times today about the challenge of doing this. Because cheers, happy afternoon, happy evening, wherever you are. I've had a few requests come in this week from friends near and far who have heard me play tunes and want to hear them again. And here's the thing I have to explain to those of you who aren't familiar with the guitar. It's hard to play a tune when you're playing all the parts at once. So I've had several requests, including one I'm going to attempt shortly. A tune that this friend of mine has heard me play with a wonderful singer a couple of times. And I just want to point out that it's one thing to hear me playing some chords while a great singer sings a lyric to you. But to deliver the melody and the chords all at once on the guitar is pretty challenging. If you're at a piano, you can kind of plunk out some chords with your left hand and play the melody and at least hold it together. This takes some work. So when I fall down, that's one of my excuses. Thanks for your patience and for hanging out with me. Caitlin Wiedenhoff is a good friend of mine who lives in Edinburgh in Scotland. Caitlin is head of the costume department at the Royal Lyceum Theatre in Edinburgh. and a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful woman and a good friend. She's married to a guy called Michael Wiedenhoff, thereby making Michael one of the luckier men in the world. Michael manages one of my favorite pubs. No, Michael manages my favorite pub on the planet, a place called Sandy Bell's on Forest Road in the Old Town in Edinburgh, a place where I met some of my best friends and some of the more important people in the world to me, including my buddy Freddie Thompson that I talked about a bit earlier. And I met Caitlin there when she was in after work for a drink when Mike was working. And while I was doing a session with my favorite Scottish singer that you've heard me talk about before, Susanna MacDonald. Susanna and I played a tune called Paper Moon, which is kind of a song about the theater and the magical world that they create there. And I know that's a tune that Caitlin loves. And if you've been following the comments on the side of these live streams, Caitlin's been patiently but persistently asking for Paper Moon, sometimes in capital letters to try to get my attention. And as I've tried to explain, it's hard. But I spent a bit of time working on it, and we'll see how it goes. Caitlin and Susanna, if you're singing along, this might be a little slower than you're used to because I got a lot of places to put my fingers. Anyway, here we go. This is It's Only a Paper Moon. Very shortly. Some of you are bored of me hearing me say this, but I tune because I care. It's only a paper moon. There you go, Caitlin. Hope that was all right. I'll work on that. Maybe that'll come back a couple of weeks later a little better. But thanks for listening to that one in the meantime. And to think about that. So many thanks and shout outs I want to offer. I mentioned this fabulous man last week, but I didn't point out an interesting connection. So I want to say thank you again to Peter Sellers, who runs Sellers and Newell Bookstore on College Street in Toronto. Good friend. Peter gave me a plug for this live stream this week while advertising another great concert that was filmed in his great little bookstore. Stephen Stanley did a show in January that was filmed and is now online. You can watch. I watched that the other day. It was a lot of fun. Peter's been a great support, and I've had the privilege of playing there a bunch of times. Last Saturday night, the 11th of April, I was supposed to be playing there with aforementioned favorite Scottish singer Susanna MacDonald, who was going to be in Toronto after visiting a friend in New York. Of course, current times have put a kibosh on all those plans, and all of Peter's shows are canceled. Susanna and I did not have a chance to play at the bookstore, and I'm sad about that. And thinking about all you friends and all the people who might have been there and all the people that I have played there with. Melissa Rose, another great singer, French singer who lives, lucky for us, lives in Toronto now, and that I play a bunch with. Melissa and I have done her tribute to Edith Piaf at Sellers and Newell a bunch of times. I'm thinking of her because yesterday was her birthday. Bonne fête à mon amie Melissa Rose. And anyone else I'm not thinking about. I know there's a few birthdays going on. My nephew Jet had a birthday on Wednesday. I mentioned his mom, my sister Ren, last week. It's just a month of birthdays. April's a good month to be born. What can I say? Another tune before I babble away the hour. Here's another special one. A special thank you and a special shout out to the people on the front lines of this pandemic, looking after those of us who are getting sick. The horror stories in the hospitals and the clinics, and in this part of the world, especially in the long-term care facilities and seniors residences, are truly horrific. And it's a scary time, and it's a scary time for people who have to go in every day and suit up and face to face with this deadly virus that we don't know what to do about. So I want to say thank you to healthcare workers of every kind all over the world who are working on this. There's a really wonderful tradition in the UK at the moment of musicians playing Over the Rainbow as a special dedication to the NHS, to the National Health Service there. I'm not sure that there's a special song for the healthcare system in Canada, but I'm going to play Over the Rainbow as my own dedication and thanks to the people of the NHS and healthcare in Canada and everywhere. And a reminder, man, oh man, what would we do without public healthcare systems and what's going on in places that don't have robust public healthcare systems like the country to the south of me. It's a scary time. I want to say thanks to my good friend George Bell in Edinburgh, who was the first one who drew my attention to this phenomenon of musicians playing Over the Rainbow, because he sent me a video of the amazing Martin Taylor playing this tune. I hope you haven't seen Martin, because that guy's a really good guitar player. Who else have I seen? Louise Bevan is a wonderful violinist from London that I've had the privilege of working with a little bit in Ron Davis's Symphonica, which was played at the Fringe and other times in Edinburgh. Louise put a beautiful solo violin version of Over the Rainbow up last week. And just this morning, I caught Steve Hamilton. Oh, Steve is a remarkable pianist who lives in Glasgow. Great player that I played with a couple of times in January. Lucky me. Steve did a beautiful one. So check out those people on Facebook playing Over the Rainbow. I'm sure there's a whole bunch. Here's mine with a little bit of a bossa nova twist for those who'd like to keep Over the Rainbow like that. I forget how I did that. over the rainbow. Thanks to everyone working in the healthcare system, keeping us healthy through these crazy, crazy times. Yeah. More shout outs, advertisements, things you should check out. As always, there's a bunch of comments you should get a little information page beside this stream where you can read about a bunch of places. I really encourage you to support a bunch of organizations doing some great work, some places. If you've got an income and you've got some money coming in, as I've said, I'm not requesting donations again at this point. I've been very lucky in terms of being looked after by some government programs in this country, and I will be back again asking for donations, I guarantee it. But at the moment, I'm getting my share, it feels like, and I encourage you, as I say, if you've got an income, if you've got some money to support, there are a bunch of people and places that could really use some help. Have a look at some suggestions from me, and keep doing this. Please keep joining musicians and performers who are trying our damnedest to keep us alive and keep doing what we do when it's really hard to find opportunities to do it. Man, oh man, do I ever miss the chance to make music with other people. One of the people I most love making music with is a fantastic singer by the name of Patricia Cano. Patricia lives here in Toronto. She's originally from Sudbury, Ontario, and born to parents who come from Peru. And Patricia is a magical, magical performer who embodies that Peruvian heritage and the Franco-Ontarian culture of her upbringing, and the amazing influence of my good friend Carlos Bernardo, a really great Brazilian guitar player who lives in Paris. Patricia is a woman of the world. Tomorrow, exactly 24 hours from when I'm going to stop this, so 5 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on Saturday, Patricia is going to be performing live online with another really, really great Toronto musician and a very good friend of mine, Louis Samau. The two of them are doing a duo live concert, appropriately socially distanced, I'm sure, physically distanced, even better. And they're going to do that through a platform called NAC Performs. NAC is the National Arts Centre, a really marvelous institution of culture, live music and theatre and all kinds of great art, which is in Ottawa, in the capital of Canada. And the National Arts Centre has been sponsoring a whole series of live performances, really doing a wonderful job getting Canadian performers out in front of Canadians when we don't otherwise have a chance to do this. So I'm really happy that they're doing that. I'm really excited that at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to be tuning into NAC Performs to see my good friend Patricia and Louis, my good friends Patricia and Louis perform. Check that out if you can. I will also say I'm very honored to let you know that I'm going to be doing one of those National Arts Centre Performs live streams right here in this very place. At this very time, Friday, May the 1st, 2 weeks from today, May Day, special Live from Lockdown with Kevin Barrett, NAC Performs. Check that out. You'll be hearing about that. You won't have to go anywhere. It'll be on this stream, but the generous folks at the National Arts Centre have picked that up. Again, I'll be saying more about that. In the meantime, a couple more tunes before I go. All kinds of people popping up here. I gotta close my screen. I'm going to say a special hello to my mom, who just sent me a message I can't read. Hi, Pauline, my mother on the West Coast, listening in as usual. I really appreciate that. Here's a wish for all of you. Here's a dedication to all you marvelous people. Here's what I hope you are having many days of. This is a tune by Henry Mancini called The Days of Wine and Roses. If you know my political work, you'll know that I'm more often singing about bread and roses, which I will do more of. It's The Days of Wine and Roses. Yeah, the days of wine and roses. I hope you're having lots of days of wine and roses. Ah, these crazy times. I don't have a lot of time left. I think I'm going to do a little message of love and one more tune. And a whetting of my whistle. I want to say thank you again to all of you who are joining me. I'm sure I'm forgetting to thank all kinds of people. I even make notes. As you can see, I got notes over here to keep myself rolling. I try to, tell you what I'm thinking about this week every time when I do this. I call it my message of love because it really is that. A couple of people have referred to these as my rants. And, the truth is, I don't want to sound like I'm ranting. I will admit I'm probably a little bonkers from being stuck in one place for a long time, and I'm sure you all know what that's like. But really, this comes from a place of really feeling love for all of you out in your own particular isolations and trying to sort out how we get through this. And what I've been thinking about a lot this week is that we really need to start thinking and talking very concretely about the world that we want to build when we come out of this. Things are never going to be the same, and I've been saying this all along. Things are going to change. Things are going to change in ways we don't expect. So let's be ready with that. Let's have the ideas lying around that can get picked up to make this world a better place. Something I've said every week, and I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face. There has never, ever been a time in human history when it's more appropriate to start putting in place a universal basic income for all people. And when I say we should be talking concretely about what we're going to do to make this world a better place and how we're going to rebuild it, that's the kind of thing I mean. I've been doing some research. There's lots of economists out there who don't think that universal basic income is a good idea. And I'd be happy to engage with that conversation. I think that's the kind of thing we need to do. I think we need to be speaking to each other, to the people we love. I think we need to be talking to our elected representatives and thinking really concretely about how we do that. But I mentioned the luck that I have in living in Canada and being the recipient of an income support program that has come together faster than any government program in history. And it's pretty remarkable. I could, my government's not doing everything perfectly. They just bailed out the oil and gas industry again today. And they're not doing what they can to save the environment. But again, this is the chance to do that. But we got to be looking after each other. And we know now that the money's there. Don't tell me the money's not there. Don't tell me it's not true. The money's there. People like me who are out of work are getting support from public funds because the public funds and the public are going to benefit from us having that money and spending that in our neighborhoods. And that's what we need to do. We need to build a world that's this looks after each other. There's a really cool organization I've also mentioned in the past, 350.org, one of the leaders in the climate change movement, in the movement to end climate change. They published a message I just saw today for the first time, articulating 5 principles for a just recovery. There's a link on my page there. Have a look at them. They say put people's health first, provide economic relief directly to people, help workers and communities, not corporate executives, create resilience for future crises, and build solidarity and community across borders. Don't empower authoritarians. There's a pretty good set of principles. Check that out, if you will, and know that I offer those thoughts and those wishes with probably more humility than it sounds, but a desire to talk to you and send my love and solidarity to all of you and work together with you to make this world a better place when we come out of it. Lots of requests, like I said. I got a request from my sister Bronwyn, who's not listening right now because she's not a Facebook person, but I'm putting these up on YouTube. Did I tell you? I got a YouTube channel with all my old broadcasts. This stays on my Facebook page too, but again, check the side for the link to my YouTube channel. You can go and listen to the old ones. And maybe Brahma will catch this. This is another one of those tunes that I just can't play by myself. I can't do it all at once. You've heard me have to create some loops and use a bit of technology to get through some of these tunes or spend a lot of time practicing. This is one I could not pull off on my own. This is another one that Brahman's heard me play with a great singer. I had the enormous privilege of getting to the West Coast. I lost the but here we are. I'm going to switch up guitars, as you can see. I played in Vancouver last June with my favorite Scottish singer, Susanna MacDonald, and Bronwyn, my marvelous sister Bronwyn, was there. In fact, she got a bunch of friends out. We had a really fun night. And Bronwyn heard Susanna and I play this tune, and she sent me this message. She's going to kill me for this, but I'm going to read you the email. She said, request for next week. The name of the tune, which you'll know momentarily. She says, Susanna and I can sing along. Luckily, no one will hear me. Sadly, no one will hear her. So, my typically self-deprecating sister, Bronwyn, sending lots of love to you, who's busy looking after my mom, who lives upstairs. They're all looking after each other and holding together. So, you're going to watch me while I play this guitar. Whoa! Quieter. Conveniently prepared in open D tuning. I'm going to set up a little loop on this, and then I'm going to switch guitars and play a melody. And hopefully, by the time I get part of the way through this, you will recognize this. I told you this, right? I'm tuned because I care. It's tough to keep these guitars in tune. Stay well. Be healthy. Look after each other. I hope to see you next week at the same time. I love you. I miss you. We'll see you soon. This is Big Yellow Taxi by Joni Mitchell.